Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down one of the most ambitious and honestly complex military operations in all of history, D-Day, the Allied invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944. So how in the world did they pull it off? Well, to figure that out, we're going to take a bird's eye view. We'll fly right along the coastline, starting with the American landings in the west and then sweeping over to the British and Canadian beaches in the east. But our story actually begins way before that, in the total darkness of the night before. Yep, Operation Overlord kicked off in the dead of night. Thousands of American paratroopers, guys from the 101st and 82nd Airborne, were dropped deep behind enemy lines. Their job? To pave the way for the main event on the beaches. Okay, so things went wrong almost from the get-go, right away. They flew into this nightmare of thick clouds and blistering anti-aircraft fire, and the paratroopers got scattered all over the French countryside. But here's the thing, that chaos actually worked in their favor. The Germans had no idea where the real attack was coming from. And this is where that incredible training just kicks in. Instead of panicking, these guys formed these little ad hoc squads on the fly and started hitting their objectives anyway, grabbing crucial causeways and even liberating towns like Saint-Mère-Église. All right, so as the sun starts to come up, the main event begins, the seaborne invasion. And for the American forces, this day is going to be a story of incredible contrasts. We're talking about two beaches just a few miles from each other, but their stories couldn't be more different. So first up is Utah Beach. The goal for the 4th Infantry Division was to punch deep inland. But to do that, they first had to get through this deadly obstacle course. We're talking lines of hidden mines under the water, fields deliberately flooded to bog down and drown troops, and a string of 9 German bunkers which were well-placed, even if they weren't heavily manned. And this is where things get kind of crazy. Luck, or maybe fate, steps in. A really strong current actually pushed the landing craft way off course, about 1.5 miles south. And when you know it, they ended up landing on a part of the beach that was way less defended. It was a total mistake, but a mistake that absolutely saved countless lives. So by the end of the day, the 4th Division had pretty much nailed all of its objectives. They pushed a solid 10 kilometers inland and met up with the paratroopers. And the cost? Just 197 casualties. That's a number far, far lower than anyone could have possibly hoped for. Just an incredible success story. Okay, now let's head just a little bit east. Because here, the story takes a tragic turn. All that good luck from Utah Beach, it completely vanishes. Welcome to Omaha Beach, where the German defenses were literally a nightmare come to life. Look at this. Omaha was an absolute fortress, a perfectly designed killing zone. You had to get through 5 layers of defenses, each one designed to funnel you into the next. First, the mined obstacles in the water. Then these giant metal hedgehogs to rip your boat apart. If you made it past that, you hit a seawall covered in barbed wire. Then you had to cross an open space the size of a football field. And all the while, you're being fired on from these bluffs, which were just bristling with machine guns, pillboxes, and anti-tank guns. It was just a meat grinder. And as if that wasn't bad enough, everything that could go wrong did. The massive naval and air bombardment that was supposed to soften up these defenses, it totally missed. The clouds were too low. And then the secret weapon, the amphibious tanks, the DD tanks, most of them sank in the rough seas before they even got to the beach. So the first waves of infantry hit the sand with practically no support. They were completely on their own. The whole assault was on the verge of total collapse. Complete failure. That's when a few U.S. Navy destroyers did something incredibly risky. They steamed in, getting as close as 800 meters from the shore, dangerously close. Basically using their huge naval guns as direct fire artillery, they started picking off the German bunkers one by one, blasting a path for the guys pinned down on the beach. That heroism, that gamble by the Navy, it turned the tide. But my God, the cost was just devastating. Over 4,000 casualties. By the end of the day, the Americans were only holding on to this tiny, fragile foothold, maybe a mile deep. The beach was secured, sure, but it would forever be known as Bloody Omaha. All right, let's keep moving down the coast to the Anglo-Canadian front. Now, the British and Canadian forces, they had a whole different set of problems. And for them, the entire success of the day really boiled down to one single crucial objective, the city of Caen. So why Caen? What was so special about it? Well, it was a major road hub. Think of it like the center of a spider's web. If the Allies could grab it on D-Day, it would do 2 things. It would open up their route for their own advance into France, and just as importantly, it would block the Germans from rushing their elite panzer divisions to the coast to smash the invasion. Okay, so you had the British on Gold and Sword beaches. Their job was to make a beeline for Caen, but they had to fight through these really tough inland strongholds, all while keeping an eye out for the 21st Panzer Division. Then you had the Canadians at Juno, and for them it was a whole other beast. Some people even called it the Canadian Omaha. They had to storm these heavily fortified towns right on the coast, with these huge seawalls that were trapping their tanks on the sand. But check this out, it really shows you how hard they fought. After some absolutely brutal fighting to get off that beach, the Canadians actually pushed further inland than anyone else on D-Day. A 16-kilometer advance, just an incredible feat. But then a halt order comes down. They were so close they could practically see their main objective, the Carpiquet airfield. But command got nervous about a possible German counterattack and told them to dig in. And, it was a cautious call, but it turned out to be a really costly one, because that very night, elite German panzer troops moved in and fortified the exact ground the Canadians were about to take. So let's pull back. After 24 hours of just sheer chaos, incredible heroism, and frankly, a lot of luck, what's the final score? Did this whole massive, risky invasion actually work? This table right here, it really sums up the whole day, doesn't it? It's just a total mixed bag. You've got the spectacular success at Utah and near-catastrophe over at Omaha that was saved at the last minute, and then over with the British and Canadians, they made the deepest push of the day, but they crucially missed out on their number one objective, which was Caen. But look at the big picture. By midnight on June 6th, there were more than 132,000 Allied troops on the ground in Normandy. That alone is a mind-boggling achievement. But that foothold came at a truly staggering price. We're talking more than 10,000 casualties, killed, wounded, or missing in just 24 hours. So what's the bottom line? When you add it all up, despite all the things that went wrong, all the missed objectives, and the terrible, terrible losses, the invasion succeeded. It did the one thing it absolutely had to do. It broke through Hitler's Atlantic Wall, the Allies had their foothold in Europe, and they were there to stay. But D-Day was just the beginning. The invasion was won, but the battle for Normandy was just getting started. Now the Allies had to fight their way out of that foothold, through the dense, brutal hedgerow country, the Bocage, against the very best divisions Germany had left. The longest it was over, but the battle for France had just begun.